There comes a moment when your silence will speak louder than your explanations, when your absence will echo louder than your presence ever did. You were never meant to chase what was born to recognize your value. The secret is not to withdraw to punish, but to realign. You do not disappear to be my boss. You step back to be remembered. Every time you detach from need and move into peace, you become magnetic. The world feels your absence when you no longer need its approval. Let's journey into that quiet power, the art of being felt without being seen. What if your absence could speak louder than your words ever could? What if the secret to being remembered was in the silence you leave behind? Tonight, you will discover how to make them feel you, even when you are gone. My friend, you must understand this one eternal truth. Silence is not the absence of power, it is its purest form. There is a S-Pompor Islands that speaks more thunderously than words ever could. When you withdraw your attention from another, you do not vanish from their world, you begin to vibrate within the secret chambers of their mind. Your image lingers, your energy hums quietly through the corridors of their thoughts. You are FNBRDL not because you are near, but because your absence has become an echo of your once living presence. When you stop trying to be heard, you start to be felt. The world is constantly chasing attention, constantly speaking, constantly proving. But true presence requires no explanation. You are never so loud as when you are still. You are never so magnetic as when you are silent. The one who can withdraw without resentment, who can disappear without bitterness, has found the sacred balance between self and shadow. This is not a game of manipulation. It is the revelation of your worth. You see, even bond relationship, every connection is an exchange of energy. You do not need to announce your departure. You need only withdraw your attention. For attention is the lifeblood of creation. Where your focus goes, energy flows. When you remove your focus, that energy returns to you, purified strength and iarhin. And when it returns, the other begins to feel what they once ignored, your energy, your essence, your silence calling them inward. Most people chase after being noticed. They talk, they explain, they argue, they plead. But have you noticed that the one who says least often leaves the deepest impulse art? Words may touch the ear, but silence touches the soul. It reaches into places logic cannot travel. When you stop sending your energy outward, when you stop thinking of them, worrying about them, needing them, something miraculous happens. They begin to sense the vacuum. They feel a pull they can bother not name, a longing they cannot explain. It is the magnetic whisper of your absence. You must not leave in anger. You must not withdraw in pride. For silence born of pride is brittle, it shatters easily. But silence born of peace is divine. It carries the fragrance of mystery, the softness of strength and bar H. You become an unseen presence, a vibration that cannot be erased from their inner world. When you understand this, you realize that absence is not distance. It is invisible communication. The secret lies not in the act of vanishing, but in the state you hold while unseen. Do you withdraw in self-pity or docility, or in confidence? Do you retreat with despair, or with quiet, knowing that you are felt even now? For the universe mirrors your inner state. If you feel forgotten, you will be. If you feel remembered, you will be. If you feel unseen, you disappear. But if you know that your energy still speaks in silence, then your absence becomes your voice. Every thought of yours is a signal sent into the unseen. The moment you stop projecting desperation, you stop feeding their indifference. You take back your creative power. You become the cause again. You stop waiting for them to notice and begin knowing in part NG that they already do. That knowing is what stirs the invisible threads between souls. That quiet conviction is what awakens their remembrance of you. There is no need to prove your worth. When you truly see your own light, others cannot ignore its glow. But they must first experience your absence to recognize the warmth they once took for granted. Do not fear that silence will make them forget you. Only what lacks depth can be forgotten. The presence that is rooted in truth cannot die, can only deepen. Withdraw your attention gently as one who gathers their power back home. Sit in the illness of your own being and feel your completeness. The mind will scream to reach out, to be noticed, to be seen, but the spirit whispers, be still and let them feel you. The world around you is a without being born to bitterness is not to stop caring, is to care with wisdom. It is to understand that love cannot be forced, nor can connection be maintained through struggle. The one who must be convinced to stay has already left in spirit, and the one who feels peace in your absence was never truly yours to hold. When you realize this, you stop fighting against the flow of life and begin to trust it. You were never meant to chase after what drifts away from you. You were meant to be Miss and BRSLE. You no longer crave recognition or apology. You simply know that everything unfolds exactly as it should. The mind will try to pull you back. It will say, they should not have done this, I did not deserve that, they must feel my pain. But the higher self whispers, be still. Let it pee, bar, ass. Let them walk their path as you walk yours. Every person who leaves you carries an echo of your energy, and how that echo feels depends on what you send out at the moment of release. Send anger, and they feel chaos. Send peace, and they feel awakening. It is your choice. To detach without beta and turnus is to master the art of invisible influence. You influence not by force, but by frequency. You are no longer a wave crashing for attention. You are the tide itself, moving with divine rhythm. You become untouchable, not because you close your heart, but because you open it to a higher understanding. Love does not end, it transforms. It evolves from dependence to awareness, from possession to presence. And as you rest in this awareness, something miraculous begins to unfold. The same ones who once overlooked your worth start to feel an unfamiliar emptiness. They do not know what it is. It is you, your peace, your silence, your release. The energy that once clung has become the air they breathe, and in that air they remember. But you no longer need them to remember. You have moved beyond that desire. You have become whole again. So walk away not with fire in your heart, but with light in your soul. Do not curse what has ended, bless it. Bless them for showing you where your love was dependent, where your self-worth was conditional, where your peace was negotiable. For in releasing them, you reclaim yourself. And when you stand in that calm power, the universe itself bends T-Barlow, your new vibration. That is the secret detachment, not distance, but divine trust. When you begin to understand that every connection is made of energy, you realize that nothing you say or do matters more than the vibration you carry. Energy speaks louder than words. You can stand before someone and declare your love, and yet they will not feel it if your energy trembles with fear, need, or doubt. But if you say nothing, if you simply rest in quiet confidence and fullness, your silence becomes thunder. You do not convince through speech, you transmit through being. People hear your words, B-U-N-P-R-N-T. They respond to your energy. The world does not answer what you say, it echoes what you feel. When you understand this, you begin to govern your inner state with sacred attention. You stop seeking to change others and start tending to the atmosphere within yourself. For it is this invisible atmosphere here that draws every experience into your life. You attract not what you want, but what you are. If you carry the energy of lack, you will meet those who remind you of what you don't have. If you walk in the energy of peace, you will find yourself surrounded by ease. And if you live in the frequent, see in part why of self-worth, others will feel it long before you speak. They may not understand why they are drawn to you or why they think of you suddenly, but it is because your energy is spoken through the unseen channels of the mind. The universe listens to vibration, not language. When someone leaves you, you often think that you must explain, justify, or prove your worth. But the moment you do that, you give your energy away. The more you speak from pain, the more you confirm that pain's existence. Energy never lies. If your words say, I am fine, but your vibration screams, I am broken, the world T.D will respond to your vibration, not your words. The law of energy is absolute. You always receive from life what you whisper in feeling, not what you shout in speech. So the real transformation begins when you stop trying to make them understand and instead raise your energy to where understanding no longer matters. Let them feel the change in you before they ever hear it. The most powerful declaration is the one made in silence. When your energy becomes peaceful, it sends a signal to every person who has ever shared a connection with you. They feel the shift. They may not know why they said I miss you, or why thoughts of you return uninvited, but it is because your vibration has altered. You have stepped into alignment, and energy always seeks balance. There is no boundary between minds that have once been intertwined. Thought is not limited by distance. Feeling is not contained by Espenbibar Islands. When your energy changes, it ripples across that invisible web. And those who once shared your frequency will feel the disturbance. That is why your peace unsettles them, and your detachment confuses them. You no longer feed the old connection with your need, and so the old energy begins to hunger for what once nourished it. You do not need to wish for them to feel your absence. You only need to dwell in your fullness. When you are full within, the energy that once reached outward now radiates inward, and that radiance cannot be ignored. It is not arrogance, it is divine certainty. You know who you are, and therefore you no longer require anyone to remind you. In that state, every person who meets you, even in memory, encounters the essence of your transformation. If you wish to be remembered, stop sending energy that says, please remember me. Send energy that says, I am complete. That frequency is unforgettable. The universe itself remembers it, for it is the vibration of truth. When you align with truth, everything that is false must either rise to meet you or fall away. That is the silent law of energy exchange. Energy is the invisible language of the soul. It tells Devibadis the truth when your words cannot. It reveals what you believe about yourself in every moment. And when you begin to live consciously aware of what you feel, aware of what you emit, you begin to command life itself. You stop being at the mercy of moods, of people, of circumstance. You become the Kaubasa, say, a gain. If someone feels your absence, it is not because you have withdrawn. It is because your energy has shifted to a higher plane, and they cannot reach it until they rise too. And if they do not rise, it does not matter, for you have already ascended. The one who governs their energy governs TC Barfair air world. The one who masters their inner vibration does not chase, they attract effortlessly. So do not waste another moment explaining, proving, or convincing. Feel instead. Feel deeply the energy you wish to embody. Feel the calm that says, I am enough. Feel the love that says, I am whole. And then watch as the world begins to rearrange itself to match that inner song. You will see people responding differently, opportunities appearing effortlessly, and even those who once dismissed you will begin to sense the shift. They will not be able to name it, but they will feel it. For Inaganarsan Y always tells the truth, and the truth cannot be hidden. Every image you hold in the sanctuary of your mind begins to breathe life into your world. Imagination is not a daydream, it is the workshop of creation. When you picture yourself being missed, being valued, being remembered, you are not into NDRG-LGing fantasy. You are planting the seed of reality, the unseen response to what you assume to be true. You are never waiting for them to recognize your worth. You are instructing reality on how to reveal it. The outer world is only the mirror, but you are the sculptor shaping what it reflects. When you imagine yourself as forgotten, life will echo that belief. When you imagine yourself as cherished, life must echo that too. Everything begins and ends in imagination, for imagination is the bridge between thought and form, between desire and manifestation. What you believe about yourself is silent and derived entity broadcast to every corner of your experience, and those who once shared your vibration will feel it most deeply. That is why you cannot make anyone feel your absence through effort or struggle. It happens naturally when you shift the image of yourself within. You may think they left because of seed or circumstances, because of misunderstandings or mistakes, but the real reason anyone drifts from your life is energetic misalignment. You are imagining yourself as less, as dependent, as unseen, and so they played the role your assumption required. Now you must change the script, not by forcing them to pardon or return, but by assuming the role of the one already loved, already desired, already remembered. The stage of life will always conform to the part you choose to play. Do not underestimate the quiet power of imagination. It is not fantasy, it is command. When you imagine with feeling, the invisible W-30-year-old bends to obey. Feel it real. Feel their awareness turning toward you, not through begging or wishing, but through calm conviction. Feel that you are known, that your energy is unmistakable, that your presence lingers in the silence of their mind, and then let it go. You do not have to make it HMBRs happen. Your assumption has already begun to harden into fact. There is no separation between thought and experience. What you assume about another is reflected in how they behave toward you. If you believe they have forgotten you, they must act as if they have. But if you rest in the assumption that you are unforgettable, your energy begins to whisper that truth through the unseen corridors of consciousness. They begin to think of you, not because you have forced it, but because imagination has spoken for you. Everything begins in feeling. If you imagine without emotion, the image remains hollow, ETRW. You must merge with the scene you create. Feel it as now, not as a hope or a distant future. Sit quietly and enter the world within. See yourself as complete, content, radiant. Picture their face softening, their thoughts turning gently toward you. But do not imagine their return as a means of validation. Imagine it as the natural recognition of your worth. For when you truly know who you are, the outer world has no choice but to mirror that knowing. You may wonder how imagination can influence another's mind. But consciousness is one, not many. There are not countless separate minds scattered through the universe. There is only one divine emanation expressing itself through infinite forms. When you change your assumption within, the entire field of consciousness reorganizes to reflect it. That is why the slightest shift in self-image can cause someone distant to feel your presence, gain, to remember you, to long for the peace they once felt in your company. Yet the purpose is never to control another. The purpose is to align yourself with truth. When you imagine yourself as loved, you are not trying to make someone else act differently. You are returning to your natural state. You are love itself. You are remembrance itself. And from that knowing, all that belongs to you will find its way home. Let your imagination be sacred. Use it not to chase, but to create. The moment you assume the feeling of being missed, the law begins to unfold. Perhaps you will cross paths again. Perhaps they will reach out unexpectedly. Or perhaps the desire will dissolve entirely, because once you have become whole, the reflection no longer matters. What matters is that you have remembered your creative power. So dwell not in fear, but in the image of fulfillment. Imagine yourself walking T-bar prof life, serene, radiant, self-assured. Let that image become the truth of your being, for the outer world will always bow before the inner conviction of one who knows their worth. When you stand in that knowing, those who once overlooked you will feel it not through your words, not through heart absence, but through the vibration of your imagination made real. When you begin to see yourself through the eyes of value, the whole universe rearranges itself to honor that image. The moment you stop seeking approval, the mirrors around you begin to reflect your strength instead of your need. It is never the world that withholds love from you. It is your own disbelief in your worth that closes the door to it. The one who lives as if already valued does not plead for recognition, he breathes it. He carries an invisible crown, not of pride, but of quiet assurance that he is enough, and that assurance becomes magnetic. You see, every time you chase validation, you tell life that you are without it. You announce lack, and lack must answer. You affirm that you are incomplete, and so experiences appear to confirm it. But the instant you turn inward and feel yourself as already accepted, already chosen, already loved, reality bends to match that assumption. You must first give yourself the feeling you seek from others. The universe only echoes what you whisper within. Do not confuse arrogance with worth. Arrogance demands attention, worth requires none. Worth simply is. It shines in islands. It does not need to defend itself, prove itself, or compare itself. When you walk into a room knowing your light, people feel it before you speak. They may not understand why they are drawn to you, why their tone softens in your presence, why they remember your name when others fade into the crowd. It is because you have remembered who you are, and your remembrance awakens theirs. To live as if you are already valued is not to pretend or perform, it is to believe. Belief is not a thought, it is a feeling of certainty so deep that it vibrates through every word, gesture, and breath. When you move in that certainty, the outer world begins to organize itself to confirm your state. Opportunities unfold without effort, respect flows without demand, and love finds its way to you without chase. For the law of life is simple. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are conscious of being. Most people live waiting for proof. They say, I will feel worthy when they notice me, when they choose me, when they love me. But they wait in vain, for the proof only appears when the belief is already alive within. The one who waits never receives, because waiting affirms absence. But the one who lives from the end, the one who acts, speaks, and feels as though it is already done, calls the unseen into visibility. There is a certain peace that settles upon you when you no longer depend on anyone to tell you who you are. You begin to see that everyone who ever doubted you was unconsciously reflecting your own doubt. And when that doubt dissolves, so too do the mirrors that sustained it. People begin to treat you differently, not because they have changed, but because you have. You are no longer sending out the silent message of unworthiness. You have replaced it with the vibration of wholeness. Do not be surprised when those who once overlooked you suddenly notice your glow. They will wonder what has changed, but it is not something they can see, it is what you have become. You have shifted from asking to knowing. You no longer need their approval, and paradoxically, it is TCPIN that approval chases you. For the world is your shadow. It follows wherever your consciousness leads. To live as if valued is to move through life as though you already possess the treasure others seek. You do not boast of it, you simply embody it. You dress, speak, and act from the dignity of an B.O.E. who already belongs. You no longer beg for a seat at the table. You realize you are the table. You no longer worry who stays or who leaves, for nothing that is truly yours can depart. Your peace becomes your power. Every time you hold the feeling of worth, you polish the mirror of your world. Every time you remember your completeness, you invite life to prove it true. And even when shadows of doubt arise, you need only return to the feeling of being enough. For feelings are prayers, and prayers spoken from the state of fulfillment must manifest. There is no one to convince, no one to win over, no one to impress. There is only yourself to believe, to honor, to love. And when you love yourself, not as an act of ego, but as a remembrance of truth, everything that vibrates with that same love will find its way to you. The hearts that once overlooked you will begin to feel the absence of your all-body dependence, and in its place they will sense a calm strength that both mystifies and attracts. For true value is never announced, it is silently known, and in that knowing all things are drawn. There is a sacred law woven through the fabric of all creation. The mind only realizes the weight of PR essence when it no longer has access to it. Absence is not emptiness, it is revelation. It reveals what was once taken for granted, what was overlooked in the noise of familiarity. The moment you withdraw your energy, life begins to echo with your silence. That echo is not cruelty, it is clarity. It teaches others to see what they once dismissed, to feel what they once ignored. The absence of your light becomes the mirror that reveals their own darkness. Every presence carries a frequency. When you are near someone, your energy surrounds them like air, soft, invisible, yet vital. They breathe you in without noticing. They grow used to your kindness, your attention, your giving nature. They begin to assume it will always be there. But when you step away, when that energy no longer flows toward them, they begin to gasp. They do not miss your voice or your face alone. They miss the nourishment of your vibration. That is why absence amplifies value. It makes the invisible visible. Do not confuse absence with abandonment. Abandonment is done in bitterness. Absence is born of balance. You withdraw not to punish, but to restore harmony between giving and receiving. For too long you poured it into a vessel that never learned to hold water. The moment you step back, that vessel must either awaken to its own source or remain empty. Either way, you have done your part. Your silence becomes a teacher far greater than your presence ever was. You see, when you are constantly available, you dilute your energy. The mind craves mystery. The soul reveres distance. Too much familiarity blinds perception. It is the pause in the music that gives melody its beauty. It is the darkness of the night that reveals the brilliance of the stars. In the same way, your absence defines the contour of your radiate. You become memorable not through constant presence, but through the imprint you leave when you are gone. People often fear being forgotten, so they cling, they talk, they explain, they remind. But clinging only erases the memory faster. The more you try to be remembered, the more you affirm you empty our fear of being forgotten. The secret lies in quiet withdrawal, in trusting that your energy is unforgettable. If your presence was true, your absence will speak for you. If your love was genuine, it will echo in their heart long after words have faded. Absence does not diminish love, it refines it. It burns away the illusions of convenience and reveals what is real. When you are no longer near, those who took you lightly begin to feel the weight of your absence pressing gently on their mind. They remember your patience when confronted with chaos, your softness when the world felt cold, your rank when they felt small. These memories return not because you remind them, but because truth cannot die. It only hides until silence gives it space to bloom again. There is a divine rhythm in the dance of presence and absence. The tide retreats only to gather strength before it returns. The sun sets only to rise anew. So when life calls you to step back, do not resist it. Your absence is not an ending. It is preparation for a higher reflection. Let the silence between you and others become sacred ground. In that silence, they will meet themselves and you will meet your own wholeness. To mapibriki them feel your absence is not to disappear completely, but to withdraw your emotional dependency. You stop feeding their need for your energy. You no longer chase, explain, or justify. You simply exist in your own light. And as that light steadies, they begin to notice its glow from afar. They might try to replace it, but they will fail. For your energy is not a replica, it is a signature. No one else carries the same vibration. Once felt, it cannot be forgotten. In truth, it is not your absence that they feel, it is the void within themselves that your presence once filled. Your withdrawal on LTDROI reveals what was always missing. You were never the cause of their emptiness. You were the mirror of their completion. Now that the mirror has been removed, they must face the reflection of their own soul. That is the lesson absence teaches. It is not punishment, it is awakening. So let your absence be gentle yet powerful. Do not return out of fear or loneliness. Return only when you are whole, when your presence no longer seeks validation but offers peace. For when you live in that state, your absence becomes your message, your silence becomes your voice, and those who once overlooked. finally see what they could not when you were near. In the quiet, they will come to understand that your presence was never ordinary, it was the light by which they once saw themselves. And as that realization dawns, something remarkable begins to unfold within you. You no longer seek to be seen, for you have discovered the power of seeing. You no longer chase after love, for you have found that love is not something to be received, it is something to be expressed from the depth of your being. When you finally release the need to be validated, you awaken to the truth that your worth was never in their recognition, but in your awareness of being. The external world was only ever the mirror of your inner conviction. Change the conviction, and the mirror rearranges itself. Every event, every person who crosses your path comes as an answer to the vibration you hold. Nothing is random, nothing bar ng accidental. Life listens to the whisper of your inner state and organizes itself to reflect it with absolute precision. You think you are waiting for change to come from the outside, but the outside only dances to the rhythm you conduct within. The outer world is merely the shadow cast by the reality of your imagination. The shadow cannot move on its own, it follows the shape of the light that creates it. So when you wish to alter the shadow, you must adjust the light within. That is why inner transformation is the greatest act of creation. You can spend a lifetime rearranging circumstances at WRTND, still find yourself in the same circle of repetition because you have not shifted the cause. You cannot pluck the fruit and expect the tree to change. You must nurture the root. Your imagination is that root. What you hold true within yourself is what life must display upon its screen. You are B and Dati are the dreamer and the dream. When the dreamer awakens to his power, the dream must obey. When you imagine with feeling, you are planting the seed of reality. Every vivid assumption impregnated with emotion takes form in the unseen realm. It grows, it develops, it gathers momentum, and in its intended time, it bursts forth as an event, a meeting, a coincidence, a miracle. The untrained mind calls it chance, but the awakened mind calls it fulfillment. There are no accidents for the one who understands that imagination is the womb of creation, and yet this power does not respond to half-belief in BRF. You cannot affirm abundance while secretly worshipping lack. You cannot visualize love while harboring resentment. The outer form will always match the inner substance. Life cannot betray your true state of being, it mirrors it faithfully. If you desire beauty, dwell upon beauty. If you wish to be loved, become the vibration of love. Do not wait for others to treat you differently. Assume they already do, and life will conspire to prove you right. The world bends to the one who lives inwardly from the end. To live from the end is to feel the reality of your desire as though it were already ACC and Barton accomplished. Not as a hope, not as a wish, but as a certainty. Close your eyes and see yourself already in possession of what you seek. Walk in that awareness, speak from that place. Feel the satisfaction of fulfillment now. For when you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are tuning your honorable entire being to the frequency of its manifestation. And the law of being is simple. You become what you are conscious of being. This is the quiet secret behind every transformation. You do not need to force, strive, or beg. You simply need to persist in the assumption that your desire is real now. The unseen currents of life will rearrange themselves to make it visible. The people, the opportunities, the timing, all will align with that inner conviction. You are not calling things to you. You are revealing what was already contained within you. Everything you could ever desire already exists in pure potential. You do not create it, you awaken it through belief. Understand that faith is not a desperate hope, it is a calm knowing. It does not waver at appearances because it knows appearances are temporary, mutable, and secondary. Faith looks beyond what the senses report and clings to the unseen beyond truth. When the mind protests, doubt whispers that nothing is changing. Faith smiles gently and says, it is already done. For faith operates in the realm of cause, not effect. It knows that the unseen is the foundation upon which the seen must stand. So train your imagination to dwell only UPO-ADRN what you desire to experience. The mind left undisciplined will replay old fears, old memories, old wounds. But you are the master of that inner screen. You can choose the scene that plays. You can rewrite the script. You can dissolve the past by imagining a new end. The world will not resist your pet be born you. It cannot. It must conform to the image you hold with feeling and persistence. When you finally grasp this, you cease to react to life and begin to create it. You no longer ask, when will it happen? Because you understand that it already has. You no longer wait for evidence because your faith is the evidence. You walk in quiet confidence knowing that what is unseen will soon be seen, not through struggle but through alignment. The one who lives in the end knows peace, for he has found the secret chamber where creation begins in the imagination, sanctified by belief. And now you see the baby artillery true power has never lain in pursuit, in pleading, or in proving yourself to another. It has always been within the silent command of your imagination, the calm conviction of your own worth, the unwavering assumption of the life you wish to experience. Every presence, every thought, every feeling you cultivate within shapes the world around you. For you are both the sculptor and the clay, the dreamer and the dream. Step forward from this knowing with quiet authority. Withdraw when you must, shine when you will, and let your energy speak the truth your words cannot. Become who? Lean yourself, and the world will feel your absence as the echo of your brilliance. You do not need to chase, you do not need to explain, you do not need to return. For the one who has mastered the art of being felt without being seen has discovered the ultimate law of life. Your presence, once aligned with your Tita Bar Ruth, is eternal, unforgettable, and irresistible.